This is Jeff Cobb. You're listening to WPOV Global.
Hey folks, welcome to another edition of WPOV Global. I'm your host, the legend T. James Logan. With me, the gentleman himself, Elio Von Erich, as I like to call him, the Lance Von Erich of the POV world.
What's going on?
And joining us,
the
the lone
wrestling
wolf.
POV world, not just the POV world, because that's pretty broad.
No, he's definitely a Lance Von Erich of the whole POV world.
Whoa.
No anger here. And, of course, our better co-host, not so traitorous, the lone wolf, Andrew Anderson today. Andrew, welcome to the show.
There is an Andrew Anderson out there, so I'm getting confused. To be getting a heavier set gentleman from the East Coast with dyed blonde hair and a beard, so that would be Andrew Anderson.
Is that Elio's grandpa?
Could be his uncle.
Could be his uncle. Anyways, folks, guys, how you guys doing? You know, we're starting the new year. Elio, are you starting the new year good without treacherously turning on any of your co-hosts or any of that nonsense you were doing last year?
I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah, I'm starting off great with this new year.
Okay. Andy?
You know what? The number might change, but to me, things just still seem the same.
Still chugging along, eh?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We have a whole new era of wrestling, and folks, this is where we now, Elio. Obviously, we've been doing our report cards, and it fell apart this year. With COVID and all the way things went around, and then all of a sudden there was no other show that we could go up at all with AEW. So we kind of threw the report card out the window this year. However, we're going to try and take a crack at it. We're going to start this week. We do that when Wrestlekingdom ends. We start the new year. We're going to start it off, but we're going to start it next week. And if we don't have enough shows to weigh in on this, we're just going to drop it again. If this COVID just keeps killing shows, if AEW and NXT UK are the only two shows running, it's hardly fair to do this.
Well, wait,
right?
and MLW's back.
And MLW, I suppose.
Yeah.
What's that?
No, I said MLW's back.
Yeah, that is true. So we're me and Elio will start watching a few of those other shows, and we'll try and see if we can at least make some sense of what show is doing better. And one of the things I want to quickly, before we go into our topics of the shows, is I did read some stuff about the success of AEW for the last year. And has it made strides? Has it made things? And this is strictly talking off of television numbers, all right? And so there are people, of course, smarter than people than me, who track every week the amount of viewers for the entire year and then divide it between the things, and give a base number versus how much the beginning was before they're down. And it does look like there is a slight dip, actually, in the amount of numbers of people watching this year since the beginning of when the show started. So first year in the books and a tremendous year overall. I mean, come on, did anyone think 2 years ago a show would be in this position? Probably not. However, a little bit disconcerting, that a bit of average drop in the things. And I know we've talked about this a lot. We've talked about AEW versus NXT, and it's a tough thing to look at because it pretty much seems that people who watch the shows are watching both shows, really.
Yeah.
And we can't really call it a war in this day and age. I mean, back when there was like WWE versus WCW, you kind of had it only one choice, right? You could watch one. Maybe if you had your VCR, you could record and watch later. But today's, you can watch both shows at the same time. You can stream one right after the other. And so I think it's a really hard measure to put them face to face with each other number-wise. It just seems like a hard thing.
And even so, like for us up in Canada, we don't even get NXT on the same night.
Exactly. Unless you're using a pirated site, if you're paying the regular things, you're in Canada, we don't get it until the next night. So it's a really hard thing to track. And like I really am of the opinion, like some people think, oh, well, if they move to different nights, would it make a difference, right? and I don't think it really would make a difference if these shows, I still think the same amount of people would watch the same amount of things. And I think most people, there's not a lot of, like, we talk about AEW fanboys, and I think they represent maybe that extra number above the NXT crowd, because I believe most of those solid numbers of NXT viewers also watch AEW. And I believe all those vocal fanboys basically represent maybe 200,000, 150,000 who push it over. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting this year. I'm really wondering if at the beginning of next year, if we're going to be sitting here talking and find out, like, because numbers don't lie. Those will be the hard things. What is the numbers going to look like this year? Pretty solid year, but not spectacular.
Yeah.
So they still have one more year in their deal. So, if they start pulling off some bigger numbers, maybe they can renegotiate for bigger stuff, right? And that also makes you wonder, though, like, look at the position the WWE's in. I mean, they have this like 5-year contract. It's worth like $1 billion a year, but the numbers of Raw and SmackDown are nowhere what those people are paying for $1 billion a year. Yeah. And you got to figure in 5 years, if that kind of rate, there's no way in hell those companies are going to turn around and say, oh yeah, we'll give you another $5 billion for 5 years. Not going to happen, And you got to wonder if next year, will it make a difference? It seems like television is more and more on the way out, like regular run television. Me and Andy have talked many times amongst each other how we rarely even watch our television. We watch the streaming services. We watch the things that, are, let's face it, cable right now kind of sucks. I was saying to my wife, I forgot how to turn, the only show that I watch on my cable television, guys, I swear to God, the only show I watch on my cable television is AEW. Okay. And when it comes on the once a week and I check my PVR, I can't even really remember how to use my PVR anymore because, I don't use it for anything else. Right. And then, the death in the coffin, or was it the nail in the coffin? Nail in the coffin came yesterday when my wife said to me that there was another streaming service coming out that would carry HGTV, TLC, and all the stuff that she's only watching on cable is the only reason we have the cable. And she said, yeah, I'm ready to cut it now. We get that streaming thing. I don't care about cable anymore.
Wow.
That'll be so much cheaper to pay like $10 a month for that. I think I heard of a new one
called Stack. Is that what it is?
Is that the one? It might be. I don't know. It could be.
Because I heard of one a new one called Stack.
Stacked? Might be Stacked. Oh, Discovery. Sorry, she just yelled out. It's called Discovery.
Okay.
That is nowhere close to Stack.
Yeah. I think most people who talk to me pretty much key in after about 5 minutes that I'm not listening to anything anyone's saying, and I'm usually thinking about myself. So I just nod and agree quite a bit.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
Sorry. Oh, yeah. I totally agree. Yeah. Sorry. Who the hell's that guy? Who's the bald dude? Anyway, let's go. He's wearing the toque even. Looking around for the bald dude. Here's the bald guy asking who the bald dude is. Okay. Let's start off with our hot topic of the week. All right. Elio, what was the hot topic of the week?
So the hot topic of the week was, should the Dark Order find a new leader, yes or no?
Should the Dark Order find a new leader, yes or no? I'm going to throw it out to Andy Anderson first. Andy, how are you feeling about this topic? Should the Dark Order find a new leader, and should they not? And why?
Should the Dark Order find a new leader? We touched on this a little bit last week with the Brody Lee tribute show. Mm-hmm. And I believe I said I was kind of open to kind of either way because, it seemed like they kind of had not a clean slate, but it's, like an open page. Mm-hmm. If they were going to pick somebody new, I think those would probably literally and figuratively be some big shoes to fill. Mm-hmm. I would be okay, and I think I said this last week as well, if it was more just along the lines of like Evil Uno was kind of the top dog, the ringleader. I would
still worship Brody from afar. Was that whether
well, I think you kind of threw that out there. To me, it was nice out of respect if they did that. I don't mm-hmm. need. And with all due respect, it's not like I don't need them to all hail Brody or have some sort of exalted one like that. But just, they just have the Dark Order, and they're just the cultish group, and
Mhm.
they try and recruit, and they've got their characters, and
Mhm.
I think that could still be entertaining.
Okay, Elio, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd be fine with the new leader. I was thinking along the lines of Eric Rowan, which we don't know if he signed or if that's just a one-off deal. But
Mhm.
either way, I I don't think there should be though. I think Evil Luno could just lead everything the way he was doing before they had the Exalted One.
Okay. I think if this group is to continue, I think one, yes, they need a leader. I'm not even saying new leader. They need a leader. Yes, that's evident. However, I kept all the year we've been kind of complaining about how New Order or how they've been portrayed. The Dark Order's been portrayed as kind of weak, kind of they had some times where they get some pushes and then get devalued a lot. And I realized something, especially when I went back and watched a bunch of Being the Elite, where their presentation of the Dark Order. And as I'm watching it, it's so funny and really gives a much rounded look at these guys, and actually not just the goofy parts, but some interesting looks at them, that I'm like, this is a failure on AEW's part not to show us this stuff, or some of this stuff, or even just a bit of this stuff. In the beginning, the Dark Order was treated as, oh, check out these guys. They almost started with a creepy vibe, and then they just became a sad joke for a very long time. And then the Exalted One came along, and we were all excited. But then it seemed like even there wasn't a lot of focus for this group. Like, here's a great example. Andy, if I was to say to you, what is the point of the Dark Order? It's pretty freaking ambiguous, isn't it? Could you tell me what the real point of what they're trying to do?
No.
They are so ambiguous of what they're about. In the beginning, it seemed like they were some kind of cult.
Yeah.
Then it seemed like they were just some guys backing Brody Lee. Then it just seemed like they were a comedy group. And so it's like, but what is the point of these guys? Well, they have yet to show us why any of these guys want to be in this group.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. And that problem rests in AEW. AEW should at least be giving us some kind of reason that these guys want to waste time and call themselves a group. It's not because they're winning, because they sure in the hell aren't winning very much. Yeah. So what is the point of this group? But yeah, I'm going to, like I said, this is a topic we have been talking about. I think the only way this group survives is if there's a leader and that there's some kind of direction. If they want to be comedy guys, they want to go with John Silver and these guys being funny guys, do it. Make them the wacky guys. Maybe that's they're in a cult because they don't fit along with other wrestlers, yeah. Right? But give us a reason why these dudes are hanging out. It makes no sense. I mean, you take a look at like Grayson versus and hold him up next to John Silver, and it's like, why would these two even be in the same locker room? The way they portray themselves, and we're supposed to believe they're part of a tight-knit group.
Yeah.
Really hard to buy that, so I'm not sure what to think. What did the fans weigh in on this, Elio?
So we had 60% saying no, there shouldn't be a new leader, while 40% went with yes.
Okay, so 60% said no. That interests me. So I'm wondering why they feel that way. Do they feel like it should still be a tributary towards Brody Lee? Do they feel, are people giving up on the New Order? Which wouldn't surprise me. I'm sorry, but I mean, it's not like they've been portrayed as that interesting of a group as a whole. If anything, they were treated as sort of like the baggage that Brody Lee carried along. So
we have a couple of comments on the page.
Oh, well, read them out. I want to hear why people are thinking this.
Let's go to the comments.
So, from Rick Serrano III.
Oh, wait a minute. Who?
He says, recently off of his ROH contract, I see only one man, Bird, enough to lead the Dark Order. All due respect to Rowan, but he can't cut a promo where Marty Scurll can.
Well, so he wants Marty Scurll put in there.
Well,
Now, is there still issue? Is there still issue with him though because of the speaking
Yeah.
out thing? Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I
that
mean,
might be
that's a dead
tougher.
point. That's why ROH has pretty much let him go, right?
Yeah.
well, George Sanders says yes, this guy, and posted a GIF of Eric Rowan.
You know what? Rick Serrano III is usually drinking some bad Kool-Aid, but I'm going to have to agree with him. Eric Rowan had the just even shittier promos than Brody Lee had, who didn't have the greatest promos to begin with. So I don't think having him as a focal. First of all, has he? Okay, I want you guys to think for a sec. Think back, even back to the Wyatt family days, right? Could you look at Rowan and see him as a leader of anything? No, he's never been betrayed like that. He is definitely betrayed as the big dummy dude following along whoever, right? At least Brody Lee even had there was parts of him where you could see like, okay, yeah, this guy could break out on his own. He could be, a bit more. But I never got that from Eric Rowan. Thought he was always a good competitor, a very big man, but sort of like watching Doc Gallows. Like, who would ever think Doc Gallows would never lead anything in the Bullet Club? He's just the big dumb guy that relies, he knows he's the meat. He knows he's the dude. It's like Jake Hager. Jake Hager ain't going to be leading Jericho's group. He's the tough guy. And I really don't think Eric Rowan. I think that's a poor idea, guys. That would you might as well give it to anybody then. Let Grayson lead it. He probably has more promo skills than what's his name. I don't think I've ever heard Grayson speak.
And the last comment is from Les Boyd. He says, how about we give Evil Uno a shot instead of immediately trying to bring someone else in?
I like it.
The only thing there is the stink of from before, because you guys remember when Evil Uno seemed to be the leader in the beginning?
Yep.
Yeah.
And back then, Evil Uno was a lot heavier. And people just were like, no, look at this slobby dude. We're supposed to believe this guy's a main event, And it's too bad because now Evil Uno is kind of really, you could look at him now and say, well, this dude could be, right?
Yeah.
But how do you get out we've learned in wrestling, when a stink gets on you, it's pretty hard to wash that stink off. People have a hard time changing perceptions when you've been perceived as something, and not as something that's been given to you, but that the fans have organically made, So,
I still hope they give him a chance, though. I'd like to see it. To me, you talk about the stink, and we're going to touch on this in a little while in some other areas. But I mean, it can, to me, like it can. You can get past it, and I'd like to think that at least with AEW, just because it is, it's only been a year, like it's a short history, so it's not like this was something that. Oh, for years, Evil Uno's been like this or like this. Like, no, it was just a short period in the beginning. So, it's, I to me, that just seems more of a natural fit than, than someone that's already been there. And it was kind of already partially viewed as potentially the leader versus trying to bring because like we said, anybody that they try to bring in to be the new leader, especially soon, they're going to get the comparisons right away to Brody Lee. Yeah. So I think if he just, even if there's something where maybe he tries to assume power, maybe it doesn't go well, maybe that's part of the struggle, maybe that's the story, maybe that works out better than just kind of somebody being the new leader.
And you're right about the stink thing. Here's the thing is, it wasn't that long of a thing. Sure, there's a small stink on there now, but this is all up to AEW. I mean, AEW could just present Uno in a way that's going to make him look like a leader. They do that. The guy has proven. See, it only works if Uno had the big stink on him and they gave him a chance and he couldn't live up to the new expectations, then it doesn't work. Yeah. But we've seen that Evil Uno can lead up to the expectations. Yes. So give him the shine, put him out there, let him flex his muscle and present him like he means something. And he has the chops, I think, to carry that off. Although they might want to update his uniform slightly. He still feels a little low rent with the mask right now. All right. So, interesting. All right, let's quickly delve into it. You know what? And I'm going to say quickly because this year, the pandemic has turned this around. One of the most beloved things that me and Elio look forward to every year is Wrestlekingdom. And in this era of COVID, boy, it it didn't really feel like a Wrestle Kingdom unless you want to take into account that each ring entrance took like 4 minutes because they had to walk so damn far to get to the ring and yada yada. But and what was okay? Did you see the opening, Elio, with the crazy ass dude with the hair, with the massive afro?
Oh, yeah, the Don King.
Yeah. This is where it's nice to have English commentators, but it sure would have been nice if somebody told us what the hell was going on during these parts instead of just shutting up.
I think because I was like, who is this guy?
I don't know who he was supposed to bring. Was he? I didn't even think
supposed to look like Don King. Yeah, wasn't he supposed to look like Don King or something like that?
I have no idea.
That's what I saw the picture of. Yeah.
It was crazy though, wasn't it? Oh man. So you know what? One of the sad things about this is I thought I would like them breaking it up into 2 nights. This is the second year they did this, but it really kind of hurts. It hurts the aura of it.
Yeah.
Now Wrestle Kingdom is just 2 cards back to back. It's not a giant special event. And I get like people have always talked about, we should break up WrestleMania so that it's not so damn long, right? But now I see if they do that, it just sort of takes away that feeling of this is a special moment, in my mind. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
Well, it's not like, it's and because the comparisons are often made to the Super Bowl. Well, the Super Bowl doesn't get split up into 2 nights.
That's right.
You don't play half the game one night and play the second half the next night.
Exactly. It takes away the aura of it.
Yep.
So this week too, we talked about stuff going in, and then, geez, you would think the way they set it up is you have in this 2-night things, in any kind of 2-night cards, the first night should be exciting and set up some of the bigger things to happen the second night. And instead, we got a pretty sharp decline in ticket sales between day 1 and day 2, with over 5,000 fans less on the second night.
And I have the exact numbers.
Go right ahead.
So night 1 had 12,689 in attendance, while night 2 had 7,801.
Yeah, that's just pretty close to 5,000 person drop, and that's almost 50%. That's a good 40% drop in attendance, and that's shocking and a little bit scary, I would think. What I wish I knew is we don't have it yet available to us, and maybe we'll try and see if we can find it for the next show. Is I'd be very curious of the buy-ins for this. How many people actually watched it without pirating? I mean, last year it was one of the most pirated cards in wrestling history. Everybody, it seemed like twice as many people pirated than actually paid for it. I'm curious though how many people actually watched this, and that'll give us an indication of, is the COVID really killing New Japan? Because it's hard to tell. The WWE had its best year ever with the least amount of shows and the least amount of anything, and they had their best year. Maybe it's the same for New Japan. Who knows? I'm going to say the first night, there was a few interesting things. In my mind, I just want to quickly point out a few things that I thought were interesting. I really hate what the hell do you keep calling it? The Rambo? Is that what you call it?
That's what we call it, the Rambo.
What a stupid ass name. Stupid ass name. Okay. Sorry, the Rambo event, which is like a 22. Okay. I love the Royal Rumble. Okay.
Yep.
But guys, if we were watching the Royal Rumble and then they told us, well, you know what? The Royal Rumble ends when the last 4 guys are there, and then those guys will fight the next night on Raw to decide the winner. Why?
Yeah. Why anticlimactic.
Yeah.
I'm trying to control my language tonight, but who the fuck thought that was a good idea? That is the stupidest idea.
Also, Royal Rumble is over the top rope elimination. This one you can eliminate your opponent by pinfall.
I don't mind that. I actually don't mind if the Royal Rumble let you do a submission or pinfall. I think that would be kind of a little more exciting. That I didn't mind. It was the whole going down till the last 4 guys, and then you got to tune in the next night on a different program to watch who really won. So how did you really win this if you have to go to a regular match? Well,
but if nobody wins it though, it's just a setup, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, this is what painful too. So as the last guy is coming to the ring, Toru Yano, there are 4 guys in the ring left, meaning the next person out, the match is over. So as Yano doesn't even get to the ring and they eliminate Gabriel Kidd, meaning before he even steps in the ring, he's won the match now, because now he gets to go the next night.
So the guy that was coming to the ring, because I'm not that familiar with New Japan, but is he a heel?
Toru Yano is the biggest comedy dude that they have in the company.
He's
He's
a
the guy
company
who he takes the turnbuckles off and chases you with them.
Yeah.
He spits water in your face. He's basically the comedy guy of the whole thing. Who do you compare him to in WWE? Is there any comedy guys?
R-Truth?
Yeah, definitely. He's the R-Truth
R-Truth,
of the thing. Yeah, good call, Eddie. He's the R-Truth of New Japan.
Just to me, the thought to that would be like if we were watching a North American, like a WWE Royal Rumble, or say AEW did it and they were following suit like this, I could see it where it's a slimy dastardly heel is that fifth guy or that guy walking to the ring, and then he can be all cool and pompous and everything because hey, like I made the final four, I didn't even step in the ring. Like I could see where you could get away with that with the right person, but otherwise to me, it doesn't seem like you said, like you're not winning anything.
Yeah, you're just delaying the match to something weirder. I think too, you made, as you were saying that, the only way in my head that would really work is if it's some special guest who everyone's itching to see in the thing. He comes out, doesn't even get to go into the battle for the first night, but tomorrow night he's facing the other three, like John Moxley or someone you wouldn't expect to show up.
Yeah, and that would draw for the second night.
Yeah, the setup of the second night, right? But this wasn't really what. I don't know what to say.
Okay, what about I'm just kind of spitballing a thing on this, and I know things of like this have been done before, but how would you feel though if it was like it came down to the final four, and then at that point it became like a
regular match,
fatal four way? Yeah,
I don't mind it that night, but to drag it off into a second night is just dumb.
Yeah, well, and dumb. I'm not even saying, it's like, oh, final four guys, we're gonna have some more matches, and these four go. I mean, it's just okay. We got the final four. Now we go into the fatal four way.
Right. Yeah, I think that would work.
That would make more sense.
Depending on the guys that were in the ring, it's like if you had got like say you had like numbers 1 and 7 and then 17 and 22 if it was like a 30-man guy, and then now all of a sudden you have this this other guy that's going to be in the fatal four way, and he's the freshest guy. That to me would be a cooler dynamic, and you'd have more of a story there because here's the freshest guy going in.
Right. Some things to point out in that match, guys who looked kind of cool and good. Props out to Chase Owens, who actually held his own in the beginning, having to take on Suzuki, Ishii, and who's the third guy who came in? There was another big bruiser. He went up against all of the hard hitters. And Makabe. So three guys who beat the snot out of you. Poor Chase Owens in there trying to fight it. He almost made it did he make it to the final? The Chase Owens, was he one of the fourth? I can't remember.
Yeah, he was one of the fourth. Yeah,
he was the first guy in one of the four endings. So I've interviewed Chase Owens before. He's a fun guy. He's a pretty interesting, cool guy. So it's good to see him getting somewhere. I said earlier on the show before the show to Elio that I was the only person who I saw and went, oh wow, it's good to see him and he looks better. Was Toa Hanare, who. We've seen him last year, especially in the G1 last year, trying to win the what did they call the stupid trophy last year? Remember, it was the third or whatever. Do you remember they had him and that dude made him and Finley made some trophy that because they're the only guys doing the opening matches that were part of the tournament.
The C block
winners. And he looked okay there, but he looked really good in this thing. He's been gone for a little bit. He cosmetically, changed up his style and look a little, and he looks solid. He looks like a guy who I think he's going to have a very good year in New Japan. Other than that, everybody was the same. Shocking to see the devaluation of Minoru Suzuki, but the guy's 51 years old and he wrestles a super hardcore style. So they're probably going to ease him into the things. Having him eliminated by Hanare so quick in the match was surprising. Same as Ishii was also eliminated quite early. Other than that, though, not too many guys stuck out. A lot of people running in and out. We hadn't seen Bad Luck Fale for a while, so it was okay to see him in there in the finals. But like I say, all in all, not a great match. Nothing I was looking forward to, and I kind of feel like I wasted my time watching it. So the opening match, El Phantasmo against Hiromu,
Takahashi.
good match. If you like watching guys get their head bounced off the cement quite a bit, because those guys took so many freaking head bumps that it was like, okay, do we not have a Japanese word for concussion? Apparently not. But good match. Hiromu moving on. There's a few other matches. The Great Okan. I'm not getting him. Elio, do you getting this guy? I think
No.
I don't. He just seems ridiculous. The way he's got himself set up, the way he kind of wrestles is a throwback to a 60s style that I don't think is gonna make it so much in this modern time. And I guess, what is this character? He's supposed to be Mongolian or something now. I mean, he left as a Japanese wrestler and came back in Mongolian with the weird hairdo. I guess. Definitely, and I believe we talked about this, Andy, before you got on. But we have a new winner into the vault.
Uh-oh.
Okay, someone for the new year. Not a winner, sorry. I just realized. Did we even announce the winner last week?
No, I thought we missed something. I thought.
Yeah. Okay, we'll talk about it before we go into the break. We'll just
Okay.
mention that match. But for next year's match, our first two entrants into the vault come from day 1 and day 2 of Wrestle Kingdom. In day 1, the match, and you know what? You would think we would be saying Naito versus Ibushi, with Ibushi winning. But no, it was a good match, but I didn't find it. To be honest, Andy, we talked about this, and you said you found it exciting, and you had a hard time getting into the next match that we talked about. I was the exact opposite. I loved Ospreay and Okada. I thought that was a tremendous good build story. And then the Naito match was okay. It was good, but I just kept thinking, like, when is this going to end? Like, this is a long match. And when you feel like that, that's not a good thing,
Yeah.
So we're going to put in, because I know Elio really loved it too, is Ospreay versus Okada from Wrestle Kingdom Night 1. Okay, so as I mentioned here, using my son's favorite move, which I've been teaching my 5-year-old son to do, so I can hardly wait to the day that his school phones me and tells me that he nailed out some kid with the Kamagoya. Ibushi takes that knee and rams it into the face of Naito to win the belt. I think the very exciting part of this match for me, Andy, was when Jay White came out, flapping his jaws about. He cut a pretty good promo.
Yep.
I'll give him that. The problem, and I say this all the time, is I like Jay White, but man, he's starting to make me fall into the Larry Zbyszko dumb for me. Is he's become the king of stalling a lot.
Yeah.
And I can't take it at this level of wrestling. I mean, that was great in the 80s and stuff, but I just can't take it, Eddie.
Different time.
Yeah, different time. So night two was, wow. It was long.
Yeah,
it felt
it was
long. The main event with Jay White challenging the newly reigning Ibushi, that match, not including, and it must have had about at least 6 minutes of entrance time. Maybe 7 or 8. It took for a long time to get started. It went 48 minutes. And can you imagine now 48 minutes of Larry Zbyszko? No, I should take that back because I've seen 5-minute matches that felt like 48 minutes with Larry Zbyszko. Second night was a bit of a disappointment for me. However,
that last match was 48:05.
Yeah, 48 minutes, 5 seconds. And that's just bell time. That's not talking about how long it took them to get in there. Then, of course, they had a whole big they drew out another 5 or 10 minutes with Sonata coming out and making the challenge. One thing, I don't know how they're going to handle this, but apparently, Andy, Jay White claimed that he is quitting New Japan.
Oh, I was reading about that.
Yes, but then he was on the next night of New Year's Dash.
Well, I thought it was supposed to. The way he was talking, I thought it was like he said after New Year's Dash he was finished. So it wasn't sure if the reference was in with the end to New Japan or to wrestling in general.
Yeah, it's that's one of the hard things too when we deal with a lot of a lot of speed. What do you call it?
Translation.
A lot of mistranslations and stuff. Who knows exactly what he was saying? So I guess we'll find out. I know there was kind of there was some kind of in the New Year's Dash the next day, and I'll get to that in a sec. But let's just say overall, New Japan this year. Oh, you did have a match though. You enjoyed one match off that card a lot, and so did I. Was Hiromu versus
Ishimori.
The Bone Soldier, with Hiromu winning the junior heavyweight title. Another great match, and let's include that into our vault this year.
All right.
All right. So, I took a quick peek at, I just got in the results for New Year's Dash. The things coming out of it, definitely, Shingo Takagi will face Tanahashi next for the never openweight belt. Interesting, Tanahashi is sort of at that point of his career where you don't expect him to win. So when he does win, it surprises you, but maybe it shouldn't, because he was the ace of New Japan for so many years. But he's been carrying some nagging injuries for the last while. Also, about a lot of misconfusion in the match, the Bullet Club taking on Chaos, where Jay White taking the pin after being reversed out of a Blade Runner, and the whole of the Bullet Club looking extremely shocked, and Jay White being extremely angry and embarrassed that his compadres didn't bail him out of this pin. So we've been seeing this ongoing, especially Evil having clashes with Jay White of who is the leader of the Bullet Club. Since Kenny Omega has left, no one has ever really claimed it except for Jay White and Evil. Both have been positioning themselves this year as the leader of Bullet Club. And who it is, we've been waiting for this. We talked about this during the G1. We were hoping that Evil and Jay White were going to have a collision in the finals. Didn't happen. But now it seems like Jay White is definitely on the outs. Where does that put Gato? He's been riding the Jay White train for the last while. This will be some interesting stuff going forward. So we'll see what New Japan has. Like I said, not the greatest. To me, it could have felt like we were just doing New Year's run or whatever other cards. Wrestlekingdom this year was a bit flat.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So let's get into this. Here's an easy one. We're gonna do a spotlight. The spotlight coming over from Wrestling POV is a wrestler who we all have known for a long time, and I'm gonna I've been yabbering a lot, so I'm gonna get Andy to open up and tell us, when you were spotlighting The Miz, how are you feeling about The Miz, his career, and where he sits in the pantheon of WWE?
I am one for The Miz, where it took, and you talk, and this is where, now earlier you talked about kind of that, the stink that can get onto somebody and whatever. From when Miz first broke in, fresh out of, what was it? Big Brother, whatever he was part of.
Yep.
And at the time, to me, it was still I'm always kind of old school, but I was like, I was not sold on him at all, and he didn't belong, and nothing to impress me. But over time, like his drive, his work ethic, for how far he has come, I think he's probably a solid, maybe quiet, underrated example. I'm not going to say a John Cena light, but nowadays, when you hear guys talk about kind of like the perfect WWE employee or whatever, how it was Cena. He was available for everything, and he was basically WWE 24/7. And over time, and I think Miz, there's times even before in interviews, Miz has even said that was like how he wanted to be. It's like, if they needed somebody, they could call on him. Like, he could always be there. And I give him credit. Like, whatever, the movies and the TV shows may not be, he was still there. He still made them. The matches, he's, to me, I've the few times he's been a face, I'm not a fan. He's a perennial heel. He's a guy you love to hate. He's the guy you want to see get his butt kicked. You want to see him get beat. You want to see him get his mouth shut up. So I think the spotlight's earned. I'm not going to say he's up there necessarily with Rock and Austin and whatnot, but I think for his overall body of work, from where he started from to where he is,
Mhm.
I think he deserves to be in that upper echelon.
Okay. All right. What do you think, Elliot? When you want to weigh in on the Wiz? The Wiz.
Yeah, oh,
The Wiz.
I
That was a
wasn't.
Freudian slip. Sorry.
I was a big fan of Miz when he first showed up, but
Did you used to have the Miz underwear? No, go on. No, sorry.
No, that was the Wiz.
That was the Wiz.
So I was a big fan, like when he first showed up. Like I know he came from that reality show, The Real World. I liked his face persona, but I think there were times where I was a fan, times where he got to be too much, where I started not liking him. But I think he works better as a heel.
Okay.
So I like heel work a lot better than babyface. But also sometimes the comedy stuff can be a little over the top after a while with him.
Okay. Now, do you feel that he's a main eventer, like that he's one of the top echelon, or do you feel that he's sort of a mid-card guy
No, I think he
or a lower card guy? How do you feel about him?
I think he belongs up there in the upper echelon. You know, like he's been world champion, intercontinental champion, tag team champion. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll tell you that Jake Hager and who is the big Mexican guy that used to throw his towel? He was also world champion. And
Well, Alberto.
I guess what I'm getting at is, I think the Miz. Okay, yeah, I couldn't stand the guy for a very long time, but he's been around and he's been solid and he's had really good matches. My thing is this: the only thing I'm going to disagree with you guys is I don't think he's an upper echelon guy at all. I think he's a top mid card guy. And I think his antics and the things has made it to the point where when it really comes down to it, I don't think any of us really want to see him as a champion again. He doesn't need to be champion. He's still entertaining. He still does his things. He still does his stuff. But it's not the same kind of like, oh, The Rock doesn't need a belt. It's not like that. It's just like he's a good top utility guy. But I think when I say the stink that was put on him in the beginning is what makes people now don't want to see him in the upper echelon. They don't want to see him as the champion, even as a heel champion. He just, especially right now in the cosmetic look of the WWE. I mean, you've got Roman Reigns, this massive tribal warrior, and then you've got like Drew McIntyre, this massive, he doesn't seem to fit into those kind of things anymore. I want to tell you guys something funny. When people tell you something about somebody that you don't really notice, and then you look at it, you never forget it. Okay. And I remember the first time, and I've been watching Miz for years, and I've been married for about 13 years. And I remember probably about maybe 12, 11 years ago, seeing a Miz match, and my wife saying a comment to me that now I cannot stop looking at Miz the same way. Right. And she doesn't know who Miz is. She just happened to walk in when I was watching. Miz takes his thing. You ever notice how Miz does that kind of goofy looking way when he gets the guy to grab his hand, does the kind of bow thing for winning, right?
Yeah.
My wife said, "Hey, why is that guy bowing like a male gymnast?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Watch any male gymnast. That's how they train you to do the bows in gymnasium. Like male gymnasts do that at the finish of everything." And I'm like, what? And I go and look it up, and sure as shit, that goofy little stand thing he does and the way he sets it up, that's exactly what male gymnasts do for every time they finish a competition bow. So I'm sure he did that and took it as just a little thing to dig, but no one really picked up on it or pointed it out, right?
Yeah.
Now I can't look at him the same. He does. and now you're going to look the same. I can see Andy, you're like, oh shit, he's right. So spotlight on The Miz, great career. There's not a lot of people are going to have a longevity of career as he's had. And he's been in a lot of things. And I think he'll go down as, when he's done his career, even the people who didn't like him will say, yeah, he was a pretty solid guy. There's no way, though, he's in the Mount Rushmore of any wrestling company or in any fans thing.
And I agree. So just so it's clear, I'm not saying he should be when I say upper echelon, but I mean, to me, I guess it depends on how we're going to define.
Yeah, I guess we probably have different definitions.
Yeah.
When you say upper echelon, I'm thinking guys like Cena. I'm thinking guys like, you may not like him or not, whatever, but I guess Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Or, That's what I meant by the upper echelon.
Yeah,
But yours might be different.
Well, and see, I mean, when I prefaced it by saying I'm not putting him in the same level as Rock or Austin, I would throw Cena in there like those. I'm not like the. I
He's
guess
a very
I'm
top
yeah.
mid card. It's a lower. What's the best way to? He's a top mid card guy.
Yeah, see, and I would still, for me, I'd give him a little more. I'd it's one of those things where you could be the top of the bottom or you could be the bottom of the top.
Mm-hmm.
I'd at least slide him into the bottom of the top.
Yeah, I guess I look at it this way. I would see that I have no problem with him being the second last match of any card.
Yeah.
I just don't see him as the main event guy.
Yeah, see, and that's fair. And although, and I guess it can still happen, but even now, like with the Money in the Bank, like I'd still like, and maybe this is a poor thing, I would rather see Miz as the champ, have a short run as a champion, than to see Goldberg as champion.
Oh God, yes.
And I mean maybe that's too extreme, but I would still at this point I would be okay if Miz successfully cashes in the Money in the Bank.
Fair enough.
So.
I'm starting to feel the Money in the Bank is a gimmick that they should just get rid of.
Yeah.
This year was a great example. They gave it to a guy that no one really wanted to see challenge for the belt, and no one could believe could possibly challenge for the belt.
Yeah.
And then they took it off him after the excitement of realizing, we kind of erred here.
It was kind of more for the shock value, and he was like the flavor of the moment.
Yeah, and I think they honestly thought that it was going to change everyone's perception. When Otis won it, we were all going to go, Otis has got a chance, but we all basically went, Otis?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I still would have been happy for them, to me, not to say to save it, but if it would have been the first time where it was like, hey, like him and Tucker, we're cashing in and we're going to go for the tag team championships.
Yeah, that would have been a really cool
been
twist.
Something. Yeah.
So, so Spotlight, let's face it, there's a guy's had a good career. We could probably spend lots of time. The more we talk about him, the more it seems like we should be saying better things about him.
Yeah.
Because he's done some amazing, fun stuff over the years, and he's been in movies. He has a reality show with his wife that garners great numbers. So, like I said, when I always talk about the stink that sometimes that goes on to people. And when I say the stink, it's not that I'm just jumping on a thing. It's just that sometimes when somebody's shot, you can't unsee things, and sometimes certain things will make you not see that person in the same light away. And I think Miz has gone through so many of these things where I can believe that he's a terrible heel. I can believe that he's a solid guy that I want to see wrestle, but there's no way in hell I believe he can be a champion unless he's a tag team champion or a very low 24-hour, what is the 24/7, or if there was a European belt, maybe Intercontinental, because that's been so devalued over the years that anyone can win that. But that's what I'm going to say about that. But before we go to the break, guys, we realized over our award show last year, one of the things we forgot to tell you guys was who we picked for the match of the year. And despite us being such a heavy AEW program, our match of the year this year went to a match that showed up on WWE NXT UK. And that was the tremendous battle of Walter defending against Ilya Dragunov.
Holy jeez, that match was so great.
Wow. That match made me sore watching it, because
but
these guys.
I thought I had been in the ring with Walter.
What did you tell us a bit about that match, Ellie? Why you liked it so much?
I was just I wasn't expecting that kind of match, like a hard hitting match with all the clotheslines and the power bombs and the hard hitting moves, and I didn't expect that kind of match from NXT UK.
Yeah, it was sort of a match that elevated, like we see this kind of stuff in New Japan, like Brutality, or you see this sort of stuff, but it wasn't like that. It was where two guys took the regular wrestling moves and just assaulted each other with them without taking out without going to the improbability of, bouncing each other's head off 26 times off the cement or something ridiculous. They basically clotheslined and chopped the living shit out of each other.
When Walter delivered the clothesline, you could hear it throughout the whole arena. Like you can watch it on TV, like you hear it echo.
Yeah. It was a tremendously fun, unexpected match, and maybe we should have expected that. We've seen Walter as such a cool, dominant champion, and Dragunov is a guy who's over the last year and a half has started to win me and Ellie over a lot. I mean, when we first saw this guy, we were like, look at this goofy, skinny guy with the red contacts, and but then he really just kept working harder and harder and harder, and I don't know. I will say though, the only cutback we've ever said about Dragunov is that dude has to learn to walk. I think he wears, it's nice that he wears suits, but I think he might have forgot to take the coat hanger out of them because he kind of walks all the time like he's like his suit's too big for him. But that is our only thing. When people, he's a guy you don't want to interview on the outside because he kind of walks like. But great match. So you know what, folks, we're going to take a quick break. Before we do, Elio, explain to all the people where they can write us and ask questions, whatever.
Okay, so you can write to us on Facebook at Wrestling POV Podcast, Instagram Wrestling POV1, and Twitter at Wrestling POV.
Excellent. And I'm going to throw it away to Andy to talk about some of the exciting T-shirt designs that we have available.
I thought I was going to have a chance to go through the break, but I guess not. All right. Well, wrestling POV fans, it's a new year. Yes, it is. And with a new year means you need a new shirt. Maybe you need 2 new shirts. Maybe you need 3 new shirts. Maybe you need 4 new shirts. Maybe you need 7 new shirts and you need to have couple sets of doubles just so you can get through the week. If that's the case and you're looking for some fine quality wear, may I suggest to you from prowrestlingtees.com/wrestlingpov, one of 4, or maybe 2 of 4, or maybe 3 of 4. Heck, why not start the year off with a big bang? Buy all 4 Wrestling POV t-shirts. They are $19.95 each. You can get 4 for approximately $80. That's one heck of a deal if you're buying t-shirts. They are available, yes, $19.95. That is US dollars. And support your favorite Wrestling POV podcast, your favorite Wrestling POV podcaster, or support your favorite Elio, whichever one of those applies. Get your t-shirt today, prowrestlingtees.com/wrestlingpov. Do it now.
Well, fans, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to take a quick break while I do a full exorcist and try and get the spirit of Don West out of Andy Anderson. We're going to take a quick break. We get back. T-shirts. We're going to talk some AEW.
Hi, this is Mr. Beefy Goodness Vance, Nevada, and you are listening to WPOV Global.
Hey fans, welcome back to the second half of the show. We are going to get into our AEW Dynamite report for the week. We're going to talk about the things that we thought are good or bad. Before we get started, though, I want to tell you that WPOV Global is part of a network of shows that we do on the WPOV wrestling sites. You can hear our show every Friday. Global, we cover AEW stuff. The 3 of us go into, of course, if you're listening to this, you've heard the opening parts of, we talked about different topics and stuff. But the whole big thing is our second half is all deep AEW. Okay. Then you can see, dude, we're talking balls now. Anyway, then we cut over to WPOV Wrestling, hosted by Tony Diaz, Rick Serrano III, and this traitorous cur of a dog, Lance Von Elio Eric. Okay, and you've seen this guy. I don't
know what's going on.
And they talk everything going on in the WWE. That's on Saturdays. And then on Tuesdays, our regular show featuring me, Andy Anderson, and some miscreant running the soundboard. I can't even remember his name at the moment. That's our WPOV Quarantine show. And Quarantine is our show that comes also with a video version of it that you can see on YouTube, where we bring on guest wrestlers, guest people behind the scenes at wrestling, and we talk about topics, and we go as deep as we can to talk about some really interesting stuff. And we just want to take the chance to check out some of these shows. If you're wrestling fans, sometimes I look at the bare bones topic I come up with, and then I see the show that comes out of it, and I just enjoy it. the chance that me and Andy get to talk to some people about some really, and sometimes even just us talking deep about topics without all the dumb bullshit. It's a really a fun talk and a really fun show. And we also have WPOV Aftermath, which after big events, mostly in WWE stuff, we all try and watch it, and whatever iteration of the 5 of us, 6 of us that get together to talk about those shows we do. All right, so check out all those shows. But let's get into this week's AEW Dynamite.
Dynamite!
All right, and this is New Year's Smash.
Day 1.
It sounded like a video game. Kill him, finish him.
Finish him.
So we started the match off with SCU and the Young Bucks versus the Hybrid True and the Acclaimed. First off, I want to say, even though they had to resort to, and I thought this was more fitting though, I liked the little rap that the Acclaim did coming out, and they actually sounded like, I think maybe the guy was super nervous last time we saw him or something, but they came off with a lot more panache. And he actually came off like this dude probably is a rapper, on a sideline, because he really came up, and come on, comparing the Young Bucks to Marty Jannetty, pretty damn funny.
Yeah. Well, didn't they also mention John Cena? They mentioned a few names.
Yeah, they mentioned John Cena. Yep.
Well, that's because last week Frankie Kazarian said that they were using a tired gimmick like John Cena in his rap. So this was the counter to that, and I thought it was brilliant. Pretty funny.
It may have also helped that Snoop was there.
Yeah, maybe. But so this match, I know you're not the biggest Young Bucks fan, but I'm going to preference this. I'm going to try, like I said, this year I'm going to try and be a little more, not forgiving, but a little more not so critical. And I got to say, when it comes to these big kind of matches, the Young Bucks always deliver a fun time in there. Yeah, their shit doesn't always make sense, and sometimes they can be a little bit overboard, but they tend to give a good showcase to the teams that they're up against. Coming out of this, I got to say, the Hybrid 2 really doesn't do a lot for me. I don't mind the South African guy.
And Nelico.
Yeah, Nelico. I don't mind him. I think he's got some interesting stuff. I think if he didn't have Jack Evans with him, he might come off as kind of boring. But as I'm looking at how small and skinny the two of them are, I'm like, which guy gets the hot tag here? Like, neither of them look like a rallying guy. You know what I mean? I gotta say, I like the Acclaimed. I liked how they wrestled tonight. I was impressed with them much more than the Hybrid 2. SCU, solid as always. And the Young Bucks, they do all this crazy shit that, it doesn't make any sense. But you know what? Who else does it? So it's kind of fun now and then to see the trapeze artists break out the nets and go to town, At the end, I was, I kind of liked the move, but it still made me go, watching Daniels do his best moonsault ever on, the other Young Buck guy was setting up for the Meltzer pile driver.
Meltzer driver, yeah.
So, you guys got anything you want to add to this match?
Elio, you go first if you want.
I like this match. I thought SCU looked a lot better in this match. Yeah, the Acclaimed, like when we first saw the Acclaimed, I wasn't really sold on them and the whole rapping stuff, but this week, actually, I didn't mind the rapping at the beginning when they came out. Mm-hmm. I thought that was good. I thought they did really well in the match itself. So, yeah. Hybrid 2, like you said, TJM. No, not so Hybrid.
They're definitely dark.
SCU, Young Bucks, even though, but and the Acclaimed.
All right, Andy.
All right. Well, you guys know. I mean, the way my evening went, I kind of came in pretty late, so I kind of edit or skim for time. So as soon as I saw the Young Bucks, I'm sorry, I just was.
You skimmed hard.
I did, although I went, because at least I wanted to stop towards the finish, kind of see the finish. So now, did one of them because we talk about the way with the Young Bucks style and how stuff goes. So was that actually a bit screwed up where he jumped up, he did the springboard, and then fell off, and then jumped back on, and then jumped back out. Mm-hmm.
I was
Was that-
confused by that. If he meant to do that and switch
Yes.
directions.
I believe I know what you guys are talking about, because my first thought was what's going on here, but then I realized it was to do the setup to combine SCU's move with the Young Bucks move.
Oh.
So that's why he turned around and did took himself out of the finisher to let Daniels do it. I think that was the whole idea, to give them this kind of camaraderie thing.
Yeah.
What I didn't like about this match, I'm going to say this right now, is I don't like when teams do this. But SCU, who isn't a main event tag team anymore, I mean, they mostly are skimming around dark a lot, come out and told about the proclamation that if they lose any match within the next match they lose will be their last match. They're only going to stay together till they lose the match. You know, I don't like that, because now that means they're going to win every match, right? Until a big setup of a thing. So that takes away some of the, you know. I also this will play into later, and I can only say half of it now, so we don't ruin it. But it seemed extremely stupid that the gentleman's agreement of SCU shaking hands with the Young Bucks, saying, "We got your back, we're with you guys until we have to face you in the ring," and the Young Bucks being gentlemen after what happened in the main event. Okay, now throws that whole storyline out the window. So why they bothered with that, I don't know. And I'm going to say something that might surprise you guys, but I want you guys to think this carefully about this. Even if you disagree with me now, give me a couple weeks on this one, okay? But after watching tonight's thing, I was in the corner with you guys that Top Flight was clearly the better team here. But that's because Top Flight is an extremely good wrestling team, but they don't have any personality. And these Acclaimed guys really put on a show of personality. They came off as real characters in there. And I think that might carry them a little further right now than Top Flight. They're not as good as wrestlers as Top Flight. Top Flight has that whole brother dynamic, the feel, but they're so interchangeable. You guys could not tell me one guy from the other probably, because they just don't have any personalities yet. The Acclaimed have managed to, the one guy rapping, the other guy doing the stuff on the side, the way they wrestle, the way they act has already made them stand up in tag teams as a more known quantity. We'll see how this works, but I would say that the Acclaim might get a lot higher of a run now than Top Flight. Top Flight definitely a team to watch in the future. I think Acclaimed right now came out of the gates really charging with personalities to add to their stuff.
And as a wise man, Jules Winfield once said, personality goes a long way.
Very much true. Very much true. Let's go over next to Moxley. John Moxley coming out and doing his interview. Elio, what did you think of this?
I enjoyed this promo.
Okay, why?
Really, just everything that he was saying, you can feel like the passion in this promo.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Andy, did you catch the promo?
I did. Decent promo. Nothing blow me away, but it was good. Nothing. See, I don't know. And again, like I'm not a Moxley guy, but where so many people rave about him in the matches and the promos, I don't feel it. To me, there's a bit of a disconnect.
Okay.
But I agree with you with when things have improved with him over the past 3 months, 6 months, whatever. But it was just simply more of a, okay, I lost, I came back, I could cry, but I'm not going to cry, but I'm going to find you, and this ain't finished yet. And that's what that was to me. So
okay, I think it was a good reason to show us why Mox wouldn't get involved by being there. He's back. Why isn't he going after Kenny Omega and ruin this thing? I think it was a good face thing to come in there, say I'm coming back, but you know what, Ray Phoenix, you earned your chance. I'm not going to screw you over. You know what? I'll stay back there and you have your match. So I like that part of it. I liked it that the last few of Moxley's promos, he doesn't feel like he's the tough guy telling you he's the tough guy. You get the feeling that, oh, this is the dude. He's out there and this is who I am and I'm going to do this. That's what I like. It isn't blow away. It's just realistic. And I think I enjoy that. Next, though, this I find extremely, the whole thing cringy as shit, okay? But we go to the back where we got Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy talking. In comes Muro wearing some goofy ass clothing as usual.
Ew. Yeah.
Then the weird, they're just so uncomfortable, these guys together. They're so uncomfortable with the way they set things up and talk and deal with each other. And Chuck Taylor just agreeing to the ridiculous thing just so that he would walk away. It does a few dumb things here. First of all, it takes away the weight of what he's agreed to.
Yeah.
You know, because now fans probably don't have any idea really what he's agreed to here. You know, being a young boy for somebody is a lot of work. And I don't know, Chuck Taylor came off really weirder than usual this week to me. I don't know if the facial hair made him look skinnier and greasier. But
so what? If he wins, does that break up the best friends team?
No, this is basically old world championship. You should know this, Lance.
Yeah.
This is old WCCW stuff where, you know, you agree to be someone's indentured slave for a while until an event.
Be your slave for 30 days, or which is what this would be, because I mean, when's the wedding, right? Like February.
I can't remember. I think
in February.
Okay. So basically he's going to be like doing all the stuff that Miro was joking about.
Yeah.
You know, doing his laundry, blah, 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 blah. So of course this should, I don't know, if Trent's out for 6 months, God, I hope Chuck Taylor isn't doing this crap for 6 months. But I have a hard time seeing Chuck Taylor being the one to emerge to take on Miro. Okay. I really have a hard time with that. I could see Trent doing this a lot more.
Yeah.
You know, but Chucky he's a tag team dude. He's not much of a singles guy, you know? So I felt this whole thing was just so awkward and horrible. I'm just going to say that, okay? Awkward and horrible. I did not like this segment, which is kind of a trend for some of the segments tonight. I thought were awful and terrible. Okay, next. Here's a match. I did not know if I was going to like this or not. Andy Wardlow versus Jake Hager.
Let me just look at my notes here. Yep. I liked it. Mm-hmm. I thought it was to me, it was like a solid old school kind of big man versus big man match. Mm-hmm. You know, something JR would say, kind of two big hosses going at it. Mm-hmm. You know, who knows where they're going storyline with this. I felt the right guy got the win, though.
Mm-hmm. Were you surprised?
I wasn't.
I was surprised. I was so surprised at the finish.
You know, clean. I'll say, yeah. No, like pleasantly surprised. Because I guess maybe because that's what I was hoping to see. Mm-hmm. Because to me, like Jake Hager doesn't need it right now, at least not within the context of this. So yeah, no, it wasn't like a big 5-star match, but mm-hmm. for what it was, for what it needed to be, I thought Wardlow had a really good show. Mm-hmm. I thought it was neat to see him trying to out wrestle mm-hmm. Jake Hager. I mean, and they pointed out, I think Jericho or somebody pointed out, like, you're not going to try and wrestle this guy because of his background, but he still was, and it still looked to me still credible while he was doing it. Mm-hmm. And if I'm sure we could go back and use a fine-tooth comb and get picky on a lot of stuff. The mm-hmm. only thing I thought maybe I would have, and it stood out to me right away, was right near the end, whatever Wardlow hit him with something, went for the pin, mm-hmm. and then Jake rolled him over, had the choke.
Yeah.
And then he held the choke until basically like broke off, and then he did okay, wait, I got 2 points of contention now that I think of it. Before he went into his finish, mm-hmm. You have this legit badass giving you this choke, and to me there was like no selling, no registering of it. It just shook it off and went right into the finish. If you go back and so that just a small point there. And maybe this is something on Dark because I don't recall seeing this before, but mm-hmm. the whole idea of him having an F10.
Yeah.
I heard that. I'm like, no, you can't be serious. And then just to see what it was, and it's like, no, do better. Please do better.
Did it not also seem that Wardlow lost control of that hold and it seemed like he really flung Jake Hager like way more than he should have. It's like he's like, oh shit.
It didn't seem like it was that finish was smooth.
It looked like he's overspun and lost control of it.
But that would be my other thing is I wasn't a fan of that. But good match, and then even the finish, kind of the respectful fist bump. Cool. I was happy with that.
Yeah, I got to say, when I first saw this match, I thought to myself, too soon. Why the hell are these two guys going at it now? But later on, the segment later, to me, this was actually brilliant booking here. because I think this serves a purpose that we didn't actually probably guess was coming. And now that I've seen what the purpose serves, I'll explain my point when we get to that promo. But the match itself, very good. Like I said, totally blown away by Wardlow taking a clean pin. Okay. I expected some shenanigans from somebody or even a miscommunication of some kind costing him. But the clean old pin, for me, blew my mind until the promo later, and then pieces started falling into my head of why they did this. But good match. F10, stupid name to rip off Brock Lesnar. I found that very ridiculous. Just like even you, I was cringy, like, and I seriously looked like Wardlow lost control of that. And I think maybe that was more in my mind when Jake Hager was flipping out in the back. You know, a 270-pound man doesn't expect to be like flung 3 times through the air and come down. I'm sure he didn't sign on for that. Elio, anything you want to throw in on this one?
No, you guys said it all. I had the same points. So I really enjoyed this match. I was surprised by that clean pinfall.
Okay. Next, we move on to something that, God, I hope there's a story here, but man, okay. We have a private party in the back. Of course, they have to do a gin and juice joke because Snoop's on the thing. Boy, if I was one of the 2 private party guys, as cool as it was to be in the same room with Snoop, I certainly would not want to be on television when you look like a miniature man compared to this totally extremely skinny tall dude who made you look like a little midget. Snoop walks in, and Snoop, who doesn't look like a big man, so then it makes you think, man, those guys are tiny. So of course, they do the gin and juice thing. Then Matt Hardy, and I guess, are we supposed to be, they bring up the chair. Why did we have to use the chair? They bring up this thing about contracts and the demands they had, and he shows them in the thing. He makes a point of telling them a good cut at the WWE, by the way, about how they can keep their
third-party platforms,
Twitch and third-party, platform stuff.
It's beneficial.
But what was the point of us seeing this? That's the part.
Segment.
Was it just so we could see Matt Hardy and Private Party and not forget about them? I guess. But it didn't seem to unless now the storyline is Matt is an evil dude and he's going to lord over these guys for a while because they signed a contract. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it just, to me, and really Snoop, except for the joke that he has a song called Gin and Juice and brought them juice for their gin. He did absolutely nothing but stand there and listen and then finally say, don't forget to invite me to the party, and walks off. And I'm like, wow. They sure know how to use celebrities.
Yeah, maximize the value.
Yeah, like they did with what's his name, with Shaq. Yeah. Get the most out of these guys. Oh Jesus. Okay, so then we go back to the ring. Brian Cage comes out. Okay? So Brian Cage comes out with his little gang of dudes. Taz. I was gonna say LoJack, but that's a
Ricky Starks, Power Hobbs.
Now,
Max Power.
Powerhouse Hobbs looked like the high school kid who's struggling in school to make the football team because of his grades. So he dresses like that so he can. He looked ridiculous.
He just can't win with you, hey.
I want to like him, but they're just not. There's got to be a better way to show this guy. Ricky Starks, man. They show him like a star tonight. Brian Cage finally had a feel instead of just the monkey in the back who goes, ho, ho, makes his one line or whatever. He finally gets a chance to shine. I thought it was even funny that Jericho had to point out how much he hated that idiot Hook. He even called him that stupid idiot Hook. Things that came off on this, though, Hobbs looking just incredibly dumb. Darby comes out. Then Sting comes out, so these guys lose their mind because a 61-year-old man with a little baseball bat's coming out. They don't know where he's coming out of, so they all jump off into the corner and kind of wait for brace themselves. He comes out, doesn't say a word after they're like, Sting is here. Sting did nothing but stare. And you have a feeling this is going to go on for a long time with him just staring and pointing his bat. The other thing that came out of here, too, is this is where I don't like Taz. When he's like it almost. Did you guys ever see a movie? Did you ever see a movie called Fright Night?
Yep.
the 1982 version. And there was a guy called Evil Ed in there. He was this geek that was turned into a vampire.
And
And there was a part where they corner him, and I always remember that. He turns around, he's in his little vampire face. He's like, he's gonna get you too. That's exactly what Taz was sounding like while he was trying to be tough. Came more like a, we're gonna kick your ass.
I actually have that in my notes. I'm like, is Taz crying? There's no crying in wrestling.
Yeah. It really almost sounded like maybe like Darby Allin beat him up in the back, and then his guys found him, and then now he's crying. He's got his guys, and come on. I didn't mind Acclaim swearing a little bit in their raps because it was kind of funny, but Taz just makes it sound like he just swears to get attention. And,
a lot of AEW people seem to do that.
And let's, we talked about this before the show went on, guys. The swearing and then the buzz thing. The buzz is bullshit, okay? They're using the buzz to show you, to highlight the swearing instead of covering up the swearing, because the buzz never comes till after the swear, and then they buzz it. So they're highlighting it, so you hear the swear bigger because of the buzz. It's a dumb trick, and it's very immature, and I don't think it does anything for their product.
It's like, you know what? Obviously, that guy, whoever is in charge of that, can't do their job.
He's the same guy who does the audio.
You beat me to it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
That's okay.
Hey, you're the best setup man in the biz. Oh, yeah. Yikes. That's all I'm going to just say. Yikes. And this week, the Sting thing. Man, is this not getting tiring? Not only do we see Sting come out, but Tony Schiavone trying to replicate some kind of goofy ass. It just came off so weak this week. It was like, Schiavone's just checked out now. Even he's like, oh, fucking bullshit. I can't believe they're making me do this. But, okay.
Well, just to touch on this.
Yes.
I mean, you kind of even forgot the whole point of what the segment was about.
Yeah, but that's because it was a useless segment.
Yeah.
We already know, they've told us how many times that he's coming out next week to fight.
Yeah. And just, it's like, it's like 100-pound difference.
Yeah.
And but you can say what you want about Taz, but he made a valid point. He's like, yeah, the guy's got the jacket on, he's got the jeans on. Like, if you're gonna do a weigh-in, at least try and make it look more legit.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, when you've got a 270-pound guy versus a 170-pound guy, it makes sense that you're, we can't strip him down to just shorts because you're really gonna see how.
He's 150 pounds.
Yeah, so it just
yeah, I gotta admit, that's why I skipped some of this stuff when it's so painful. Like, this whole segment was kind of painful, right? There's nothing that came out of it that really made you go, oh, cool, right?
Or give me more.
Yeah, and explain to me why that a champion who defends his belt, like, I mean, Cody Rhodes defended that belt every fucking week, but he didn't have a weigh-in every week before. So why the hell do we need a weigh-in? Like, it made no sense. It was a dumb reason to have a thing. And why on earth would you have a weigh-in with a guy who clearly is more than 100 pounds lighter than the guy who's already a small-looking guy? It only highlights just how small and unbalanced this whole thing is. There had to have been a better way to have a promo if you wanted for these guys. And I think the weigh-in was a poor way to do it.
Yeah.
So, speaking about poor things, we come back and see Elio's namesake and idol to be worshipped, Marco Stunt, standing there with Jurassic Express.
I was about to say, what? I don't remember seeing Lance Von Erich on the show.
Love you, Andy. So we have Jurassic Express out there, blah, blah, blah. And then I always wonder, why do they bother even letting Marco Stunt open and talk? Yes?
We missed a segment.
Which one? Hold on.
And it's actually pretty important.
Oh, no, you're right. I missed the thing. Yes, okay. Let's go back. You're right. Let's go back to the MJF. He hears Hager throwing a fit backstage. Now, this is why I realize now why they had Wardlow beat him like this. Okay? This is what I think is the brilliance of this booking. This is MJF slowly weaseling his way into the guys away from Jericho. All right, he did it last week with the week before when he went in with telling the guy about his grandfather, Santana's grandfather.
Yeah.
To do the decent thing, Even Jake said, "Wow, you know what? I was gonna hit you around or whatever, but you know what? Thanks for checking in on me, man."
Yeah.
And that gives you a much more realistic reason why they're going to turn around and go, well, you know what? Chris Jericho didn't say anything about my dad.
He was busy doing commentary and busy doing this.
No, he didn't come out and check. Yeah. So if this is the rate they're going, I think this makes it a much more brilliant, much more realistic finally when it all comes down. And we know it eventually will. Let's see how good they can build the turnaround for this. What do you guys think?
I think it's possible. I mean, like I said, like to me, and it always goes back to, well, we need more story development. Well, this story's taking too long, and maybe there's still the stink on this one. So I'm not sure. I get it, and I'm obviously following along. I just don't know if I'm that invested in it, just because of what's
how long this has been going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not a knock on the length. It's just that if you're gonna, and I don't want to say drag it out. If you're gonna make it a long-term storyline, to me, there's got to be more to it, so that it's more emotionally interesting, and I want to be more emotionally invested.
Okay.
So, Dr. Luther has joined us.
Yeah, people actually get to
see.
Yeah, which is none of you because we don't put this one out on.
Well, there you go. So, luckily, you're all missing out.
Yeah. So, I got to tell you guys this. Do you guys like? Okay, Andy, you PVR obviously your show
Yes.
and skim through and catch up. Do you keep any of these or do you just erase them right off?
No,
the bat?
I erased them.
Okay, I got to say, guys, if you can somehow look back at last week when Marco Stunt was in the ring and freaking out. Because somebody pointed this out to me and I went back because I happened to forget to erase it and watch it. When Tully starts talking to him last week and he starts flipping out, you can see him turn on the full camera to Jungle Boy and say, "Hold me back, grab my arms." Before he starts flipping, and Jungle Boy grabs him and holds him back. And I'm thinking, you guys only had a segment for 2 minutes. You couldn't have discussed this backstage and figured this shit out? Come on. So anyways, we have also, I'm not sure. Okay. I almost don't want to even talk about this just because I don't want people to get the wrong idea. But the whole thing before the interview where -1 is undressing Marco Stunt.
That was just a feel-good moment to have to show a little bit of -1.
Okay, let's just skip over it because in my mind it was not a good thing, just in the sense of undermining. Anyways.
Yeah. They don't always do the best job of highlighting talent or minimizing some of the shortcomings. No pun intended.
Yes, with Marco Stunt, there's a lot of them. So we get this thing where Marco Stunt, for some reason, has now become the vocal. He's now, I don't get it because because now FTR made a good point. They're like, "What are you? You're not. You're like at best the mascot of the team, right?" Yep. And so he's out there shooting his mouth off, and he turns to all people. I mean, seriously, guys, let's face this. If you were 5'2", like Marco Stunt, would you really turn around to the 6'6" dinosaur dude and say to him, "You sit out next week. Well, I'll go with the underskinny Jungle Boy, and we'll take on one of the hardest hitting teams on the roster"? Okay.
I wouldn't do that. I'm 5'2". I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know what to say to the logic of that. And of course, here was like, this is a big chance for Jurassic Express. I mean, they get a pin over FTR in the rankings. And by the way, I forgot to throw this out. I don't know if you guys caught this. You probably didn't because you were skimming, Andy. But in the first match, Excalibur makes this extremely stupid comment where he says, "It's really important wins or losses in AEW, and this is an important match." Well, yeah, you know what? Any team that wins actually doesn't get any movement in the rankings, but they get the momentum. What, you idiot? What do you mean they get the momentum? What the hell is that supposed to mean?
The only thing I can think of is like, you're starting to put over the rankings before you realize, well, this isn't a tag match. This is an 8-man match. So
once again, showing, I wish the rankings mean something, but make them consistent because they don't mean anything if you don't keep investing in it. Yep. You just can't tell us every 4 weeks to go, "Don't forget, Andy is 27-0. At the same time, you run that risk of, okay, Andy's fighting somebody. He's 27-0. He's taking on Elio. Elio is 3-95. So why chance does Elio have?
None.
Exactly. So I don't know. They really got to find some kind of way to do this. I don't know. Just do it straight across, and then maybe this will make sense. Okay. Or at least it'll help our imagination fill in the blanks to make it make sense. But if you keep throwing shit at us constantly, we just don't even care anymore. These rankings mean nothing. It's just a waste of time. Okay, so guys, what did you think of and also Tully slapping little Marco on the head? You want to weigh in on this whole promo, Andy?
You know what? I don't want to say I skimmed through it. I think I started to watch it, and then I don't know if I went for a bathroom break or if I went to grab a drink.
Okay, so, Elio.
I got nothing you said at all. I mean, I didn't understand the point of this segment.
Well, I thought that
other
FTR
than set up next week's match, which is apparently changed.
Well, FTR came across as realistic and solid in this, and Jurassic Express just came across as two doofuses, especially Jungle Boy, who's probably the most talented guy in that whole team, just standing there looking mouth open, not knowing what to say. I think another ill-conceived idea. Did get a kick out of Tully, though, tapping Marco on the head.
That would be funny. I'm sure I would have laughed.
I still wish, I'm sure if we look closely enough, we'll see Marco saying, somebody hold me quick before he touches me.
Or he'd be calling the spot. Quick, Tully, pat my head.
Yeah. Tully's like, oh, okay. Then this match, wow. This is where this match to me just didn't feel like a match. Okay. Like, I don't know. Maybe it was so short. Maybe I expected more out of this, but it seemed like Cody's entrance was a lot longer than the actual Matt Sydal fighting him. I know it's not true. And God, did we really need a terrible setup of Cody getting involved with the most untalented, uncoordinated team in AEW the Chaos Factor? Ugh.
Yeah, I saw that.
Luther has been exposed, okay? I'm sorry he's an Albertan. I should be nicer, but he's a good wrestler in the sense of wrestling, but he is not a TV main event guy whatsoever. And this was just terrible. I don't understand.
You know what? I think they were just simply because they were the fodder to use for Snoop to get his win.
Yeah. And by the way, Snoop, oh my God, that was the most awkward a celebrity has ever come off the rope, climbed up the ropes. Yeah. The dude's taller than the ring, and he struggled to climb up those ropes.
Well, he's a singer, not an athlete.
Yeah. And the saddest splash I've ever seen. If you could just fallen, dude, you would have looked better. But no, he had to do this kind of thing where you knew no part of his body actually touched the mat. Or the guy. Those are the moments. I'm sorry. It's cool that Snoop's in wrestling. Those are the moments, though, that make me cringe and not like, I hope my friends didn't see that, because it just made that look really bad.
Well, even to that, and I mean, and I tried to watch most of it, and I think I kind of skipped the beginning, like with the intros and stuff. So maybe they said something, but it's like, explain to me why. I mean, and sometimes we knock on, it's like, okay, well, why is Arn Anderson there, or as the coach, and da 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 da. But you're gonna go from Arn Anderson, one of the best to ever set foot in the ring, to be the coach. I mean, if someone's going to be a coach, it should be Arn, like that, and then you're just going to give Snoop your playbook card or whatever, and be like, okay, he's going to coach. And half the time, it almost felt to me like they were like, okay, Snoop, we're going to send you a couple links to watch some of Cody's matches. You can tell I'm tired. Some of Cody's matches. And it's like,
sorry.
That might be a new word. Matches.
It is. It'll be on our next t-shirt.
Yes.
Sorry.
Matches of the year. The many matches of, but it's like, here, watch some of these Cody matches and see what Arn does, and then do what Arn does. Because there's times where, like, you see Snoop in the background and he's holding the card up over, like, like Arn does when he's going to talk to Cody, but he's standing by himself.
I'm sure that Tony Diaz is going to have a field day with this, because they always point out, why does Cody have to get involved in every fucking big thing that happens? And the only reason Snoop is out there is because Cody wants to be seen next to Snoop Dogg.
Well, and they're on that show together, right? The go.
Yeah.
The tribute to Paul White.
Like you didn't. You know what? WWE has stopped doing this sort of thing. They used to do this a long time ago. They'd always have some poor guy
special guest every week.
Now they find better ways to show these guys on the show where you don't expose stuff. This was bad. It was bad. It was nice. Snoop's a cool guy, but what he did there tonight was pretty poor in the ring, and it exposed a lot of stuff. I feel bad for Matt Sydal. He should have had a little more of a showcase than he actually got. He got handed his ass pretty easily in this match. I have a bad feeling he's not going to, I think he's going to be a king of dark. That's about as far as he's going to go. Yeah. So, and my God, please don't mean we're going to see Cody. I don't need to see Chaos Factor on the main events. They are like on the main show.
No,
please don't have them.
I honestly, I think that was just that one for Snoop.
Yeah. If that was the case, just let him do it over Sydal. I mean, Sydal's not going anywhere anyways. At least don't drag in the worst of the worst. Okay, now, guys, this is the one where I want to know what you guys felt about this. Because I watched it with my wife, and she was so disgusted just by, like, it's distracting. Abaddon is so over the top, the shit she does, that it's not even slightly cool and evil like watching a horror movie. It's more like sickening in my, it's just too much. I mean, she's trying to bite constantly. She's okay. So I'll get into it after you guys. Andy, Hikaru Shida defending the title against Abaddon. What are you seeing here?
For what it was, it was an okay match.
Okay.
My issue, and I'm trying to think back to previous conversations that we had about Abaddon. I still really like this gimmick just for the fact that it is so different, where I can see that it can be so polarizing that you can really think it's cool. You're really into it. You like it versus like, hopefully not change the channel, but just like totally thrown off by it. I'm trying to remember back if I've said this before about it, but to me, this kind of struck out, and not so much. I mean, I can see the inexperience in Abaddon's work, but it's not so much that. It's just with the gimmick of how she is. To me, it's a less is more. She shouldn't. She shouldn't be. Maybe she shouldn't be facing Shida like right off the get-go. Like you're just kind of like throwing this person. It goes back. Okay, here we go. It goes back to my my often said thing about building some history and telling a story, and not that Abaddon came from somewhere else and it's like, okay, well, you guys might know who she is, but I don't, and I'd like to see a little bit of history. To me, this is such a unique character, especially for the female division. She should be, and because of the biting, I'll use the pun here. She should be eating up competition on her way to Shida. And you have the short matches. You can put over the biting. You can put over the sickness of the gimmick, to kind of accentuate that more than the work. And present it that way, I think would have a longer term success. Otherwise, it's just, I mean, it may, who knows? And this goes into why I'm not big on fantasy booking. Maybe this is just a character, like a pun again intended, monster heel coming into, to feed to Shida. Yeah. But even still, she should still be beating up like a lot of these dark girls in like 2-minute matches. Yeah. And just be devastating that way and grotesque and doing that stuff, and then build up to Shida. Because right now,
But you know what? You hit the nail on the head. Exactly what I said to my wife, because she watched it. She was really disgusted. I was like, ugh, there's not much going on here. And then I said to her, you know what? This was a waste of potential here. In my mind, when I just think about this, they really should have had a whole string of people of Shida of Abaddon terrorizing people. And then you finally get the blow-off match,
Yep.
right? Where then, because like Sheeta came out and like she's ramming her head into the thing. She's like beating the snot out of Abaddon and then takes the clean pin with the knee. So in my mind, and just about every other wrestling casual fan who saw this may have been grossed out by the Abaddon thing, but they're like, well, fuck, Sheeta just beat her down.
Yep.
You know, like it's done. She's no longer a danger to Sheeta. And like they had a piss poor build up. Sheeta going back and forth from being scared to I get it, or, you know, and I think that might have been, you know, like AEW, we talk about how they have a lot of the talent in the things they do. And I think the problem is, you know, you're trying to book for someone whose English is not their first language. And she probably didn't get to put much of input into this. And as such, a lot of wasted potential here. Yeah. Wasted potential for this. And Abaddon, like I said, just a little too over. It almost, once again, for me, is almost that X-Pac thing where I'm like, oh, turn the channel. I don't really want to see this crap. I love Sheeta, but this character, maybe it can work, but now I feel like the character is exposed. It's how is she a danger now? Sheeta took her out.
Yep.
And not even like Sheeta squeaked a victory here. Sheeta took her out. Yep. So where does that leave poor Abaddon now? You know, she crawled away from whatever grave she got out of to get in the ring for this. So not cool. And I did think it was ridiculous. They have to do this better. If she's going to do this gimmick where she's like biting you and stuff like that, if you look close enough, you're noticing that it's not blood. It's just her makeup.
Oh yeah. And
I red makeup and the faces where
I'm okay with that. It's not like we need to have her.
Well, no, but we don't need the commentators to tell us she's bleeding when it's obviously that she's not.
Fair enough.
That's the part I don't like. Just tell them to shut up. And my favorite part of this match was Chris Jericho trying to explain how the creepiness factor works, while Jim Ross going, what the fuck are you talking about? Because she kept saying, well, people are into this. And JR's like, into what? And he's like, this. And he's like, what? This. He's like, what are you talking about? JR was at his kind of curmudgeonly today. He was not having a lot of everyone else's nonsense. He was not having their nonsense tonight.
I will say though, I was enjoying Jericho overall. Like I had a fun. To me, like Jericho was having a good night. He was having fun. My big thing with him, and he did this several times, is you know what, and even Snoop is a good example because you know, Jericho pulls this guy did a great thing here, but I still hate that guy, and that almost seemed to be like his tagline for the night. And you can see, you know, when Snoop was done his thing, he's coming around, he's slapping hands with Excalibur and JR and Shivani, and Jericho's all smiles and whatever. And then as soon as the camera goes off, and he's like, yeah, whatever. It's like, I still hate that guy. I loved it. I thought that was great.
I do like him on commentary a lot.
Yeah.
I do. He's pretty funny. You know what? Hikaru Shida, though, still probably the most talented girl in the thing. I'm very curious, though. I've been giving her props the last couple of weeks. I've seen some of her stuff. Now we get a good test, okay? Taya Conti coming out challenging Serena Deeb next week for the NWA title. This will expose now, or we're going to see if Taya Conti can run with this thing. I've told guys, you know, I talked to like, you know, the WPOV guys, and they always have their list of like the super pretty girls. And there's not a lot of pretty girls in AEW, you know. I've learned to fall in love with Sheeta just from her work alone, you know. But Taya Conti and Anna Jay all of a sudden are these two extremely beautiful women coming out of nowhere. But I want to see if Taya Conti can wrestle. She's supposed to be a jiu-jitsu, all these other disciplines. So, you know, I've been impressed with her last 2 weeks. This will be the test. We're going to be here next week talking if we think that she's just another going to be forgetful dot like Abaddon seems to be headed towards, or is she going to be someone who will stick around? Because if she can pull off a good match with Serena Deeb next week, there's the chance they could start building her and Sheeta down the road. Because look at the division now. With the poor way of dispatching Abaddon, who does that really leave for Sheeta to be working towards? And there's nobody. I can't see it. So, and if I'm forgetting somebody, tell me, guys. You know, Britt Baker's wrapped up with Thunder Rosa, and that's going to be going on for obviously a while. I guess I keep hoping what's her name will come back. Chris Stratlander will come out of injury.
Off the injury list.
I thought that would have been great had she come out in this match somehow when Shida was going on, or when Abaddon was getting all crazy. That would have been a cool way to have her run back in and the alien versus the thingamajig, but didn't happen. All right, and let's go now. Let's go now to the main event, okay? And it was sort of funny because I know Andy's had a long, rough day, and he was telling me, and as he's headed home, I was a little tired. I'm gonna have to skim a few things. The first thing he said to me though is, the main event, I kind of zoned out a little bit, and I was kind of glad to hear that in the sense because when I watched it, I was having a hard time getting into this match. I mean, there were some cool things going on, but there just was for me a bit of a spark missing. So even I was kind of like, this has been a very solid card, but this match is sort of like, And then Elio chimed in and said, no, thank God, guys, because I thought it was just me. Technically a good match. We had Omega come out, have his ridiculous entrance. Mentioned finally he was from Winnipeg, which made Chris Jericho all happy and talk about the best wrestlers in the world coming from Winnipeg. Is that true, Andy?
I believe so.
I thought you might have popped when you heard that too. Interesting match. You know what? There's some things I didn't get. Sometimes a little too much going on in this match, like some severely crazy stuff where it looked awesome, but then the guys would just jump back up and go at it again, and you're like, oh, so if you take a triple flip and land on your face, that's okay. You just bounce back and go. That kind of cut it for me. Yeah. I'm sorry, I love Kenny Omega, but tonight's match, he really seemed like he was going through the motions. Like it seemed like a cut and paste match for him. Like he really wasn't really into throwing the upper game in there. He was just sort of cruising to get through it. Still don't understand why Ray Phoenix was sitting in the corner crying before they were going to beat him up.
Wasn't that because they were showing
they showed the video of
but he seemed like he was crying already. That's the part that I saw. I was like, okay, because he was like, hey, I don't know. I thought that was a kind of strange way to have those guys in the back getting beat up like that. Does that mean that these guys now run with Don Callis? Or do we go back to the original thing that Butcher and Blade are hired guns?
I think hired guns.
But then, the best part of the match.
But wait.
Oh, yeah, but wait. There's more. Out come the Good Brothers. And they proceed to lay a beating on Ray Phoenix that seemed to last an awful lot. It made it to the point where I wondered if the Young Bucks were sitting around drinking coffee, talking and going, oh shit, we're supposed to be out there. And the guys are just like, Phoenix is like, can you guys quit beating me? No, you're taking
He's already dead. Please stop. He's already dead.
So the Good Brothers run in, and then every low-level wrestler around the ring, only the low-level wrestlers, no security, no referees, just little peons who you see dancing around singing Judas, whatever, decide they're going to try and run in against these big monsters. No other wrestlers from the back, nobody to defend them, except John Moxley. Other than that, nobody likes Ray Phoenix at all, or John Moxley. I guess
they're all afraid of the Good Brothers, and
they're just too big. They even threw a nobody through the table so badly they didn't even tell us who it was. He was just like
some mask guy, wasn't it?
Generic blue mask number 1 went through the table. Like, okay. Andy, first of all, we've all been in the consensus that the match was okay. There was some fun stuff, but the actual whole story of this part, the ending, how do you feel? And I guess we should also mention the Young Bucks came in, and Elio said to me, and did you catch that too? He said to me, "What happened? The match ended. Like my feed went off."
No, I got mine. I got mine to the very end.
Yeah, and there wasn't actually. They set it up to make it look like it was. Yeah. Are they going to do it or not? And then did it? They pulled some old WCW crap. Tune in next week to find out if the Young Bucks are with them. What did you think of this, man?
I don't know. Like I get the coolness factor of, okay, well, we've got now you kind of got this kind of we're getting the band back together.
Yeah.
And we got some of the top guys from Impact and some of the top guys from AEW. Maybe this makes it a little bit easier for us in our ongoing saga of are the Young Bucks baby faces or heels?
Jesus, that story's still going on.
Well, it
Yeah.
seemed to be. And I mean, and you said earlier tonight, I mean, that kind of throws off the whole thing with FSCU. So like,
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if it's, to me, it's the case of, it's the peak time for this has kind of passed.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool they're getting to do this. It's cool they're getting to do it on American soil. A lot of people are going to be excited for it. It will make things interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But in the grand scheme of things, I don't know that it's going to do a lot to move the dial. I mean, you talk about, at this point, talking about like numbers for viewers and stuff. I don't think it's going to increase a lot of viewership to either Dynamite or to Impact. I don't think it's going to be a thing where, we're going to, all of a sudden we've got 5% new fans or 10% new fans. I just don't see that. Like, I'm trying to think of it like, it's like, okay, well, would this sort of be like an NWO thing?
Or an invasion?
Like an invasion thing. But yet it's still like and I'm so full of puns tonight, the impact of it.
You're full of something.
I am. It doesn't seem as great to me.
Yeah. You know what the problem too I had with this whole segment is the Young Bucks have presented themselves out there as like these guys all the time. I mean, it actually, for a guy like me who's watched New Japan and ROH and all these things, it actually took me a few seconds to click and like, oh yeah, those guys were in the Bullet Club, when it should have been immediate. Like when the Good Brothers came out and you saw Kenny Omega, most people went, oh yeah, like the Bullet Club, right? But then when I saw like the Young Bucks on there, honestly, guys, it took me like at least 10 seconds to click in like, oh yeah, they were all together in Japan, right? But it took that 10 seconds. If it took me, a guy who watches wrestling a ton, how do you think the casual fan took that?
We'll see, but I guess, I mean, I'm casually not casual.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as the Young Bucks came out, I'm like, okay, yeah, we're getting the band back together. Like, I saw it instantly.
Okay. So maybe I was just tired.
Yeah. But what seemed weird to me was who came out? Who else came out after the Young Bucks?
Oh, you're thinking of Pillman and what's his name?
Were they the ones? Yeah, they were the ones that grabbed Kenny.
Yeah.
That was Griff Garrison.
Yeah, Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman.
Oh, he was okay.
And it was like because there was like one Young Buck super kicked and then somebody else did the other super kick. It wasn't both the Young Bucks that did it.
No, I think it was
one of them.
Yeah.
And so to me, like, even that seemed weird.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, now, I mean, if you were creating any suspense, like any doubt, like, what's going to happen here? Well, why would he just do that? Like, why would a Young Buck, like, that just, to me, seemed weird. Like,
I don't know too. Yeah, it had that uncomfortable feeling too, like where Kenny thought people were trying to kick him, and because they kicked the other guys, all of a sudden he's just like, "Oh, guys are back!" And I think it could have been done better. You're right.
Smoother.
The layout of it, it wasn't very smooth. It wasn't very. It didn't have that impact. I mean, they were shooting for like a WCW feel, but WCW did that shit a lot better. Yeah. Maybe the story was stupid, but the way they laid it out looked great.
Yeah.
Here it just came off as muddled and a little confusing. And of course they pulled the old Nitro trick of really kind of going dark before we could actually 100% get if the Young Bucks were throwing in or not.
Okay, now this confuses me because from what I saw, there was like
they put their fingers up.
Yeah, they all went up. They all finished off. Yeah.
But they did it with the look on their faces of like, not like they were so undecided. Yeah. So if they cut it off then we don't get to see the reaction of they walked out together or not.
Oh, okay.
You could still pull they went up there and went, no, this is bullshit. What are we doing?
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by that cut is you got them reluctantly doing the hand gesture, which can be interpreted as did they do it because they're old friends or are they back together? But Nick Jackson had this look of like, what the fuck are we doing? We don't belong in this shit. And so it was, that's what I meant. We meant by that. They cut it off before they gave us that part.
Yeah.
And they did it abruptly enough that we both thought, I actually went to my wife and I thought, oh fuck, my PVR went out, like I should have put it on more time, right? But then I went online to check and nope, that's where it ended. So it was like, so they got the effect they wanted. If it made me and Elio go, oh man, our things get cut,
Yeah.
But so who knows? Like, there's no way you can definitively come out with we know now which side the Young Bucks are on.
Yeah.
And if they don't join these guys, then it doesn't sacrifice the whole SCU thing.
Yeah.
So we'll give it that, okay? But my only thoughts coming out of this is like, man, if I'm Impact, I got to be worried. Because in the end, if people kind of like the monsters and they're big guys, why would the Good Brothers bother going back to Impact if they could be in AEW? You're going to lose, you're throwing your best guys out there and you don't, you're going to get a rub, I guess, when some AEWs, but I don't see AEW really sending a lot of guys over to Impact.
Yeah.
Like, why would they?
I think they have a pay-per-view coming up too.
Yeah. I do know that Kenny is going to be on there with those guys.
Yeah, the 6-man.
Yeah. But I don't know what the extent of it is. And is it just me, but doesn't somebody just want somebody to punch Don Callis in the face?
Yes, please.
He's got such a punchable face.
Yeah.
I don't know. And you do you know Don Callis personally?
I've been on a few shows with him. I've encountered him, and I just, even from that, like, I guess there's been a sour taste in my mouth. But I've never, like,
really had.
There's nothing to me.
Yeah, you've never had a real beef with it, but he just comes across as slime to you, right?
Yeah, and when you say the kind of the carny thing, and it's not a, not in an endearing way.
Nope.
I just, for his time with ECW, WWE, and everything, I just, different strokes for different folks, but he does zero for me.
True. So let's rate this week's show on our first report card of the year. I guess A would be anywhere from 80 to 100%, B down to failure would be anything from 40% down, I guess. If you had to weigh in on this show, what kind of report card are you going to give it, Elio?
Hey, so there was some good stuff. There was a little point like for me with Abaddon, and she I'm seeing go with the C.
C? All right, fair enough. Andy?
I'm gonna go with and granted, I mean, I skimmed a little bit, but because of that, and I'll give a little bit of benefit of the doubt. I was going B-.
B-?
Yeah.
I'm going to agree with you. It seemed like an unbalanced show in the fact that it went the wrong way. It started off super strong. The second match was pretty good. And then it started a slow descent, which did not pick up at the main event. I'm going to give it a B-, just because there was some really fun stuff in it. There wasn't too much atrocious stuff. I mean, there was some dumb backstage things and stuff like that. The Trent thing was extremely stupid. Not Trent. Yeah, not Trent. What's the guy's name? The other one?
Chuck.
Chuck. That the whole thing was just poorly done and dumb. But hasn't that become a trademark of anything Miro's been in lately?
Unfortunately.
And it seems wrong because he seems like the guy who shouldn't be in this kind of crap. I thought the Abaddon thing was terrible. It really exposed how little wrestling ability Abaddon actually has. She really did jack except take a bunch of beatings and maybe bite and throw people around. So that to me was, and I felt bad for Sheeta. It's like she's worked so hard to be a good wrestler to have to carry somebody through this kind of junk. I felt that was a little bad. I thought the main event technically, I mean, if we sit down and wrote all the things that happened in there, we should be going, holy shit, that was a great match. It just lacked a little passion. Not saying it was bad or horrible. It just was missing a little something to make me go, yes, night one was awesome. I can hardly wait to night two. So yeah, I'm going to go with the B-. All right. So folks, that is our look at this week's AEW Dynamite. Next week, we have New Year's Smash 2, where I do believe Snoop Dogg is going to be a co-host. Is that what he is?
It's going to be a commentary, I think, yeah.
Which is too bad. I'd rather have Jericho because Jericho's pretty fun.
Yeah.
But we'll see. People said that Snoop Dogg did good on their whatever that boxing thing he did a little while ago was. So we'll see. We'll see. So guys, thank you for tuning in this week. Andy, good to see you, brother.
Yep.
Get some rest.
Yes.
Lance, I'm watching you. Anyways, have a good night, Elio. And fans, thank you for joining in. Elio, say good night to the good people.
Right. Fans, we talk to y'all next week.